to the Red, White, and Ruthless presented by Nickel City Mafia, where we bleed red, white, and Bills blue. I am back on the show again after a week off. Unfortunately, I have been sick for the last couple of weeks. Sean, he knows how it is. Just having a little bit of a rough time between bronchitis, RSV, every little thing that you can possibly imagine. I still have some congestion in me, so bear with me as we go through this show. But we're going to dive into a lot of things today. We're going to talk about Josh Allen's path to rebound performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Bills' offensive struggles and how to fix them, the defensive matchup between Baker Mayfield and the Bucs playmakers, as well as the coach's decision, game plan predictions, and bold takes. We'll also have fan reactions, confidence level, and what this game means for the rest of the season. So, Sean, thank you for joining me tonight, man. First of all, I know that right now with everything that's going on with the Buffalo Bills, the confidence level right now is a little bit low, but we're getting a lot of pieces back. Let's start with that, okay? Some upbeat news, okay? We have TJ Sanders coming back for the Buffalo Bills. You have Joshua Palmer coming back. It hasn't been announced that TJ Sanders is coming back, but he's on the track to coming back. Joshua Palmer, we're going to be without a couple of pieces in Dalton Kincaid, Fedarian Mathis, but this looks like a little bit of optimism for the Buffalo Bills, especially when you have that winter storm that's coming ahead of time with the AFC East is probably going to be wrapped up pretty soon, but the path to the playoffs can still run in Buffalo. How do you feel about right now? I know it's a little bit tough, but how do you feel, man?
NFL's week to week, and it's week to week for fans too. So, 1 week the team shows that they can beat anybody and they're one of the best, and then the next week they show that they're not. So, if a fan thinks, man, it looks pretty darn crappy right now, we'll be lucky to make the playoffs, then that's totally understandable. But we got 2 opportunities this week to win 2 football games, and all of a sudden you're 8-3, and then 9-2 and 8-3 isn't so far off. I know the Patriots beat us once, but we still got to play them again, and we got 2 conference losses. So if they can lose an extra conference loss from more than us, maybe we can still win a division. So I'm not necessarily super confident or super unconfident, but opportunities there. So I guess I'm excited to see how they respond.
Yeah, this usually happens about this time of the year for the Buffalo Bills, and I've seen it since like the beginning of the 2000s. We go on a hot streak to start the season, and then all of a sudden we fizzle out right around now, and then we start to go on a run again. Sometimes we don't, and sometimes we miss the playoffs and we go 5-12. Or we go 5-11. We've seen those years back in the day. Right now, I mean, we're figuring it out with the quarterback that we have. But I still have optimism that there's going to be, some changes that'll happen. They'll figure things out because, first of all, these are not just coaching decisions. These are execution that's happening for the Buffalo Bills. So you're looking at Josh Allen making all these turnovers. That's not going to happen every single week. He's going to come out of this funk. The turnovers are going to stop. They're going to move the ball, get it into the red zone, get it into the end zone. And it's just one little foot and one little Band-Aid that you have to accomplish. And it's kind of like, you ever have the training wheels that you have with your son, and you start with holding onto him. Then you start with, okay, I'm going to give you a little push and I'm going to stand behind you a little bit. Then we're going to go to your being held up a little bit. I'm a little bit behind you, but I'm going to kind of let you go. And then you just let him go and he's fine. That's what the Bills need to do right now is they just need to let go and just let Josh be Josh. Would you agree?
Nah, kind of. I mean, I think nobody's telling him not to be good. Nobody's telling him not to make plays or not to scramble or not to be himself. Because I've a lot of people, if you listen around the podcast world, everyone says, "Oh, Josh is neutered," or "This offense isn't what he likes. This isn't who he is." And I simply just say, "Then who is he?" And then nobody gives it. They just say, "Oh, he likes to throw the ball downfield." Well, that's not. He's doing that now, so that's not really a response. So The problem is, I think, and I've said it, I think last year or at least the start of this year, the mentality that they want to go by everyone eats. I think it's ruining Josh's processing because in his mind he says I have to get everybody involved. That's
Right.
what we agreed on. So instead of throwing the guys that are wide open on the first read, he wants to scan and then try to find other guys that he hasn't thrown the ball to yet, and then they're not open, and then he has to go back to the other guy, then that guy's not open anymore, and then he runs around the pocket like a dumbass, and then he gets sacked. He's already he got sacked 20 times already this year. He got sacked 14 all of last year in
Right.
17 games, and that's with Brown missing a game. So, and the offensive line has not regressed, so it's definitely not that. Maybe Allen got a little bit slower, but the way he's reacting and reading things is just off, and it's easily fixable. I mean, it was one player on the film where he got sacked on a blitz. The guy, he was staring right at the guy, and then he waited till like the last second, and then he tried to take off, then he got tripped up. But the old Josh would have saw him immediately and then ran away, and then maybe got 5, 6, 10 plus yards, and then we were moving on. Instead, he took a sack, and then we got to go to another play, and then it's 4th and 20 or 3rd and 15 instead of 3rd and short. So I think a lot of it's just him trying to do too much, thinking too much, overanalyzing instead of just okay. Shakir's open on an out route, a 5-yard out route. Yeah, I don't want to throw it there necessarily, but he's open. And we seen Shakir turn 5 yards into a 50-yard touchdown a lot. So give him an opportunity. And those big plays do open up. Yeah, we're not throwing, go balls and deep posts and all that, 20 times a game anymore. But the big plays are there. There's routes these guys are running that they're open and they're deep, but sometimes he misses them because he's worried about something else. So easily fixable, but I don't think he's told not to do things.
No, and you're probably right on that. It's just a food for thought. You hear it around the media of the Buffalo Bills fan base. People say that the coaching staff's holding him back. They say that the wide receivers aren't creating separation. You hear that quite a bit, and this offense, I mean, it revolves around Josh Allen. Let's put it that way. This offense has to revolve around Josh Allen. If it struggles, then it has to go to James Cook. We know that. But it has to start with Josh Allen, and that's the way that this is going to work out for sure.
Yeah,
so Josh's path to a rebound performance here, that's the first topic that we're going to talk about today. Do you think that this rebound performance that he could have, do you think that the wide receivers that he has on his team, because this is what the media is saying, they don't have the wide receivers, they're not creating separation, they're not doing a lot of things. Do you think that these wide receivers are the answer right now, or do you think that they need to bring and elevate a guy like Gabe Davis or Mecole Hardman? I know he just came over from the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry, the Green Bay Packers. But do you think that one of these guys might be the answer, or do you think that right now we have the pieces in place?
Probably one of them at least is going to be called up. I wouldn't say that they're an answer, but they're a different look, a different opportunity, different skill set. And as far as the receivers, yeah, they're not superstars or all stars or even really great weapons, but they're good enough. And you see around the league, there's worse players that get open. There's worse players that have good stats with worse quarterbacks. So I don't think that it's that much of an issue. Now, again, I know Allen can turn it around. I'm not concerned about that. He's had a lot of really good games. He's had a few bad games, and unfortunately, the bad games came, when we lost and couldn't get anything else going. So it looks really bad. But at the end of the day, all this stuff is easily fixable. I'm sure he watches film. Obviously, guarantee he does, and he sees all this stuff even more so than what we see. And he knows that he could be better. He knows that he could fix it. Brady knows he could call better games. Brady knows he can do a better job getting guys open or making them appear open in front of Josh sooner. There's some plays, again, I'm not trying to just kill Josh, but there's a play it was one of the deep balls to Keon that went incomplete and wasn't even catchable, but he didn't look at the right side of the field at all. And Shavers is on the boundary. He ran a post route, like it was like 20 yards and in, and he was wide open, and he caught it. He probably at least would have got an extra 10, 15 yards, if not a touchdown. But Allen didn't even look to that side.
Right.
So it's like, oh, we can't get open. We don't got guys to get downfield. He was open downfield, but we threw it to a guy that wasn't open downfield. I don't know if that was a play design, throw it to Coleman, or Allen saw a one-on-one matchup. Maybe I'll give him an opportunity, but it wasn't even close, So it's things that are easily fixable. Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the league still. But if Brady sees it's, they're in a funk and they can't, get something going right away, do some short crossing routes in front of his face so it pops right up in front of him. Like, here you go, boom. Or start throwing at your running backs more. And a lot of people don't like dink and dunks or, short game to begin with. But if you do that to start, just like the Chiefs game, we did that to start. We ran the ball well to start. And then the middle of the field, the intermediate, and then the deep ball we only threw 3 or 4 deep balls, but Allen completed all of them. And that was because they had to keep creeping up a little bit because we were gashing them in the run and we were killing them with the short passes and the screens. And then once you do that, you get comfortable. Then they have to creep up a little bit. They can't cheat, not like actually cheating, but in the term of they think you're going to run the ball or whatever, and then you can the linebackers and the safeties in the corners take a step forward, thinking it's going to be a run, and then you beat them over the top. So, but Palmer's coming back. He's got 16 yards a catch, so maybe give him the ball more. We haven't really used him, but he's definitely our biggest yards per catch guy.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, Sean. And you go back to the offense right now of the Buffalo Bills. You talked about those crossing routes. You talk about short intermediate routes for the Buffalo Bills. I go back to the beginning of Josh Allen's career, and I think it was like at one point Jim Kelly was on the sidelines for the Buffalo Bills. I think he was like the legend of the game for one of the games at home. And Josh Allen was struggling in the first half, and then Jim kind of went over to him at halftime and said, hey, you need to look for the short intermediate routes. It was when we had Cole Beasley. I think we had John Brown at the time. And they started using short intermediate routes. Then the Bills started coming back in that game. I don't think we won it, unfortunately. But I remember that moment saying, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to hit those short intermediate routes. And we really haven't seen that a lot this year with, some points Khalil Shakir doing it, but we haven't seen the running backs get involved in those short intermediate routes. Just a little, kind of like a hook route type thing over the middle of the field. Use them to get involved in the game because this is going to be a really tough matchup that we're going to get into in a little bit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because you have Dalton Kincaid out, your number one weapon for the Buffalo Bills. Now you're going to have to utilize some other aspects of the team. And maybe the wide receivers aren't going to be the answer necessarily, but you got to find somehow, some way, an answer to figure out how to get the ball down the field. And maybe it's utilizing the running backs, maybe it's the wide receivers getting more separation, but you got to find some way, somehow, to get the ball down the field.
Absolutely.
So, Sean, let's get into the second topic. And we've talked about the Bills' struggles on everything. Let's get into the defensive matchups for the Buffalo Bills going up against Baker Mayfield and one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I would put him right up there with Josh Allen. He's having an MVP season. He's doing it with a ton of weapons around him. Even with Mike Evans out right now, you still have Tez Johnson for them. You have Emeka Egbuka, another great wide receiver there. You have Chris Godwin out, and he's been out for pretty much the whole entire season. But he's doing it with all these different pieces around him. Sean, talk to me a little bit about this matchup. And even though the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be without Bucky Irving, they're going to be without Chris Godwin, how do you feel about this defensive matchup for the Buffalo Bills and how they stack up against these wide receivers for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as well as the offensive line and defensive line? Let's start with the wide receivers and cornerbacks for the Buffalo Bills.
I mean, as good as the Bucs are, they're not nearly as good when they got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving, Cade Otton. I think Cade Otton's hurt too. I'm not too sure. But they're missing a lot of their firepower, and Baker Mayfield's still having a really great season. But it's obviously, I mean, it's dumb to say, it's much harder for them to be excellent without all those guys, obviously. But I feel really good about the defense in this game because of that reason, alone. They're missing so many guys. Yeah, we're missing guys too, but their best receivers are rookies. We got a corner that's really like there's nothing. They don't got Justin Jefferson out there. They don't got a veteran receiver that knows a lot. These guys are young too and learning. So I like the receiver matchups. Now, Baker Mayfield kills zone defense. So if we're just going to play zone the whole game, even those two guys might just kill us the entire time. But if we run a lot of man, give Hairston shots with Ibuka, let Tez Johnson beat you. If he beats you, then I guess you didn't deserve to win the football game anyway. But I think they're missing 2 or 3 starters on the O-line. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to check the depth chart and injury report, but I know they lost Cody Mock earlier in the year. He was a starting right guard. Their left guard just I don't know if it's the starting left guard or the guy who backed up Cody Mock, but they lost a guard last week. And they might have lost a tackle. I don't know if Tristan Wirfs is back, but I think the right tackle might be injured as well. But yeah, so they're banged up everywhere. So this defense should have no excuse not to keep doing what they've been doing, minus the last 2 touchdowns in Miami, but the game was over at the end of the day.
Right. I mean, you're exactly right there, Sean. You mentioned the guard that is out is Bredson, that is out with a hamstring injury for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chris Godwin, their wide receiver, one of their best wide receivers and slot guy, is out for this game. So that helps Taron Johnson if he plays in this game.
Was he was that Bredson, was he a left guard or a right guard?
It doesn't say on here, it just says guard, them pulling up.
I'm gonna look if you want to keep talking about Taron and stuff.
Yeah, Bucky Irving also out with a foot/shoulder injury. Hassan Reddick, one of their best pass rushers, is out for this game with an ankle/knee injury, as well as Marquise Watts, an outside linebacker with a hand injury, is out. 3 players that do not have a designation right now that are going to play in this game. 2 of their best players on defense, Vita Vea, had a back injury. He is going to play, as well as Antoine Winfield, who was limited the first 2 days of practice this week, had a full participation on Friday with a foot injury. He is going to play on Sunday too. The Buffalo Bills, they do have a lot of players that were on their injury list this week. They do have 2 that are going to be out. Fedarian Mathis is out for the Buffalo Bills with a shoulder injury, as well as Dalton Kincaid with that hamstring injury. He is out this week. And the other players that are questionable this week, Shaq Thompson with a hamstring injury, TJ Sanders with the knee injury, could come off of IR and play this week, as well as I actually see not Joshua Palmer. Fedarian Mathis is not listed as out. I apologize. He is questionable, even though Sean McDermott did rule him out. It says questionable as his status, and I think that's wrong. Actually, Cam Lewis with a calf injury is questionable, and Taron Johnson with that groin injury is questionable. But all the rest, Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, AJ Epinesa, all back in the lineup. Joshua Palmer will be back in the lineup. Jordan Phillips, Khalil Shakir, and Dorian Williams all in the lineup. So that's great news for the Buffalo Bills. I want to get into the chat real quick, Sean. I'm kind of missing out on the chat a little bit. Do you see Mike Fortin from Nickel City Mafia coming in, our founder of the page, saying, "Let's go, my favorite podcasters," as well as a question that he brings up about Cook, why we're not getting him the ball. We will get into that later on in the show because that's going to be one of our keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills. Trek reviewer coming in saying hi, as well as Cam Lewis is always questionable. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Nickel City Mafia. We are on a goal of reaching 2,000 subscribers by the end of the season. So click that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a minute of Nickel City Mafia and all the shows that we are doing on here. So, Sean, let's get back into the action real quick.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so Cade Otton isn't out. He's he's playing, and then Bredson was the starting left guard, and Cody Mauch was the starting right guard. So both the starting guards are out. Wirfs and Godecki are back, the tackles, and Graham Barton, I'm pretty sure he's that guy that from Duke that plays every position because he's a starting center and he's a backup left tackle. So if you could play center, you could, more than likely play all the guard positions.
Right.
So yeah, they got banged up interior, and then Syracuse alum Sean Tucker actually last week he got more carries and more yards and touches than Rachaad White did. So we're going to see a split between those two. And then receivers wise, I don't even know half these guys. So they got Igbuka, Tez Johnson, Cameron Johnson, don't know who that is. Mike Evans on IR, McMillan's on IR, Jaden Smith's on IR. They got Ryan Miller and then Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, some of these guys, actually, I'm familiar with a little bit because when the Buffalo Bills are not playing, my other team that I watch, because my brother-in-law is a huge Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, and I should have brought him on the show today. He would have killed it because he knows pretty much every player on here. We've watched Tez Johnson. He had a backflip, I think, a couple weeks ago. That was incredible to watch. Speedster guy. Watch out for the Buffalo Bills. You're probably going to have to put at some point Maxwell Hairston on him as well. And then Sterling Shepard, he comes over from I believe he was with the Giants for a few years.
So basically they got a receiving core that's being led by two rookies right now, and one of them was like a 6th-round pick. So we shouldn't get destroyed by them. Now they can make plays. I've seen them, but at home, I don't think they should be putting up 30+ points.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And then look at the right guard position, Sean. You talk about the players that were at the guard positions. Former Buffalo Bill and practice squad player that comes over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dan Feeney, starting at right guard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Somebody that the Buffalo Bills are familiar with. We could look at that matchup and really take out Dan Feeney in this game. So that's
I don't think he's starting. I think they got that Elijah Klein. They got Elijah Klein above him. I don't know. I think you're freezing. I don't know if we lost Brett. Yeah, Brett, you might have to drop out and come back in, I guess. Hopefully he can come back. Still can't see you or hear you, buddy. Okay.
All right.
Talk.
I apologize
okay, now you're
about
back.
Sorry about that. My internet went down for a minute. I don't know what happened.
No, you're good.
I was just in the middle of talking, guys. I apologize about that.
Totally Dan Feeney is on the team, but I don't know if he's going to start because it looks like they got a guy above him on the depth chart.
So I'm looking at the team's depth chart on Buccaneers.com right now, showing that the Dan Feeney is the starting right guard for them. Maybe I'm wrong.
Because on this one on ESPN, they got Luke Haggard, right guard, questionable, Ben Bredesen out, and then it's got Elijah Klein, left guard, Dan Feeney, left guard. It doesn't have Feeney as a backup right guard at all. So maybe they're going to do that. Maybe they changed their mind and they're going to put him out there this time, but that's even probably even better for us.
Yeah, I mean, we can exploit him because we know him so well, especially with training camp and everything for the Buffalo Bills. He's spent so much time here. But this is an interesting matchup, Sean, because, I want to get into a little bit more of the defense too. Daquan Jones coming back for the Buffalo Bills. He played last week and now back in the lineup. This is a really good matchup where we could see the defensive line of the Buffalo Bills, especially the interior, take over the game. Would you agree?
Yeah, it'd be especially with Ed Oliver out and Hoyt out, who was playing a lot inside. I mean, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup, but even with Ed Oliver out, I like what we see here for the Buffalo Bills and getting a lot of guys back as well. With, we mentioned getting much of the defense back, especially the cornerback position, Christian Benford and Taron Johnson back in the lineup. I really like that too. So, Sean, let's get into some of the coaching decisions for the Buffalo Bills. And I want you to kind of lead the way on this category, because some of the things that the Buffalo Bills need to change, we might not agree with. So let's talk about, some of the coaching decisions that the Buffalo Bills need to make in order to get a win on Sunday. What are you thinking here?
I don't know, because I don't really know how much to put on the coaches this past couple of weeks.
Or maybe something that you've seen on film that you think that we could correct and fix and utilize in this game.
Yeah. I mean, I was telling people in the Discord, there was one play that Allen got sacked on, the one I was mentioning to. He was just staring at the guy coming down on the blitz. The Falcons ran the same exact play when we played them, and then they got a sack as well. That's the one where Allen saw the blitz coming and he rolled the other way and ran into a sack. This time he waited till the guy got near him, then he tried to juke him out and run forward, and he got his ankle tripped up and got smashed. But it's really just reading and dissecting, which he was really good at in the first few weeks. But if it's third down and you're assuming that they're gonna fake blitz on one side and blitz from the other, or just bring crazy looks or drop out when they're showing pressure at the line, draw something up that's gonna be a quick hitter, even a screen pass. Just run a screen pass. When we did it last week, it was like 3rd and 12, and then Ty Johnson ran a screen pass and got to 1 yard short, and we picked it up. Or he got the first down. I can't remember which play it was. But even things like that, you do stuff like that, they're going to stop blitzing you, because they're going to be like, oh, crap, we keep getting gashed for 15 yards on screen plays. We got to stop blitzing. So design plays, and especially when you know that teams are looking to do that. And now you saw within the last 5 weeks, another team did it to you, just like against Atlanta. So, and again, a lot of it's just great drawn up defense, because they make it so the left tackle and the left guard are engaged in a block, and the left tackle goes this way, the guard goes right, and then they just blitz 2 guys or 1 guy in between them, and there's no one to pick them up because the running back's on the other side, or the running back went out to get a pass. So it's little things like that they got to correct. Again, with Joe Brady, they put a stat out there on Twitter. I think Trey put in Discord. 80% of the time under center is a run, 80% of the time a shotgun's a pass. So just knowing that, if you make it 60% of the time under center is a run, you're going to confuse a lot of defenses, especially if you come out of the gates. We run a lot on first down. You come out and play action pass. And, I don't know if Josh Allen's just lazy with his play action fakes, because when I was watching the linebackers on the Dolphins, it's like whenever it was going to be a run play, they didn't take a step in, because when you're a linebacker, you're taught step in, pause, react, not just automatically go or automatically backpedal. But whenever we were about to run, the linebackers just boom right to the gap. But when the play action came, they did the step, react, backpedal. So it's like either they knew because of the formation, or they knew because Allen wasn't selling his play action fake properly. So I'm not trying to kill the guy, but he's the best player for a reason. He gets paid the most for a reason. And a play action, it could be Cook. I didn't really watch Cook on the play actions. Is he making it look like he's not getting the ball when it's a fake? Like you got to make your play action look like it's a real play. That's why it works so well. Like Jared Goff ran one a couple years ago, and it was so realistic that he got smashed 20 yards in the backfield by defensive end because he thought he had the football. So be better at selling your play actions, Cook, Allen, and then run more of it. Don't just under center. Oh, it's a run play, because even if it's 8 out of 10, defenses will take will take the chance. But okay, they're most likely good. It's first down for one, and they run 80% of the time under center. So let's take the opportunity and send a run blitz, or send a safety from on this side to back side to chase the guy down, or maybe it's a counter, and then the safety can pick them up. So work on being less predictable.
Right.
I mean, defense, I thought they've been playing really well the last few weeks. I know they blew open a little bit at the end, but again, the game was already over,
Yeah.
and they kept it, to the middle of the fourth quarter with 16-0, or 16-7. So yeah, work on being less predictable is the main thing.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And the offense over the past couple of weeks, I don't want to be too critical of the Buffalo Bills. As a fan, it's hard to watch. I'm just going to say that for the offense. Defense has really done a better job of, playing better and playing within themselves. So I really like what I've seen so far from them. But Sean, let's talk about one of the storylines that I think is going to be interesting. You mentioned the way that the other teams have found ways to beat the Buffalo Bills in terms of beating Josh Allen. And Todd Bowles is one of the best at creating pressure on the quarterback in games. And this matchup is going to be fun to watch. How Todd Bowles schemes up some blitzes against Josh Allen, some ways of just making him uncomfortable in the pocket. How do you think that Todd Bowles can do that? And hopefully he's not watching the show. But how do you think that Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can find a way to create some mismatches and some areas where the Buffalo Bills have struggled in this matchup?
Well, as you said, Todd Bowles, he's a great defensive mind, great defensive coordinator. He knows what he's doing, so they're a blitz-heavy team. They got really good, quick, aggressive linebackers. They run the 3-4. They got Vita Vea, so he's going to take up two guys often. I mean, you could beat him one-on-one, but he's going to eventually beat you one-on-one if you keep throwing the opportunity at him. So yeah, they got fast linebackers. Yeah, they're missing a couple guys. They got a great secondary, so they can hang around with any one wide receiver running the routes. So you don't want to hold the ball for 5 seconds, 4 seconds, and just be lackadaisical back there. And it's a chess game with coaches. So when I say Brady's got to do better at calling plays, it's things like I know when they give quarterbacks a play, and even Stevie Johnson said this on Eric Wood's podcast when he was talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick, that obviously they give you 2 plays to run and you can audible out of it. Now, I've noticed sometimes where Josh audibles and it turns out to be a bad play. So maybe the play originally was going to be a good pass play, but he thought, I got to check to a run, and then they get no yards. So, when I'm talking about playing the chess game is, that they're going to blitz a lot. And Allen used to kill the blitz. I think even last year, he was one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of, when Miami always ran that zero blitz coverage, he would destroy it. All of his touchdowns against Miami would be like against the zero blitz. So when a guy's blitzing, there's usually a space open. So when Brady calls these plays, assuming that a blitz might be called, have these routes either in front of them, have the check down, right in front, or to the side of them, ready, available, and just things that aren't gonna. I got to hold the ball and wait 4 seconds for Keon Coleman to get open downfield.
Right.
Just make sure there's things that are easily blitz beaters. So then they have to stop blitzing. Obviously we're gonna still have to run the ball as well. But yeah, Brady's got to do a really good job assuming what they're going to do so we can be ready for it, instead of just being like, yep, we're going to run the ball every first down. Then when a 2nd and 10, you're basically in 2 third downs because you got to, they know you're passing both times. So then it makes it hard for everybody, because then the defensive coordinator is like, oh crap, now we're going to, if they get an incomplete pass here, pin our ears back, some crazy blitzes, and then boom, we're out of here. So it's really important to win first down and to be ready for these blitz packages that they're going to be bringing.
Yeah, you're right on these situations. And you look back to last week, Dalton Kincaid on the field most of the game. I think that about 90% of the time that he was on the field for a play, it was a passing play. So that he's not going to block. That's something that you have to factor in. If you see Jackson and Hawes on the field, he's probably going to be a running play. With Dawson Knox in there, it kind of could go either way. But you have to be less predictable and find ways. Even if Dalton Kincaid, and I'm going to say this right now, hopefully people forgive me for cussing on the show, but if Dalton Kincaid is a shitty blocker. You have to utilize him in those situations and try and get him better at being a good blocker. I mean, it's not that hard. You got to find ways to make it less obvious that you're running a passing play. And you got to find ways to make it more efficient for the offense to run. And it doesn't necessarily revolve around, the wide receivers or the running backs or what. It's a team effort, and you got to find ways to put the best players out there on the field. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm kind of going on a rant here, so forgive me. But Joe Brady has to find the best way to make this offense less predictable. That's all that it takes. Because I think that the defenses are starting to figure out, hey, when Dalton Kincaid is out there on the field, this is going to be a passing play. When Jackson Hawes comes into the game, this is going to be a running play, and it makes it more predictable for the team.
But even like you said, to your point, that could play to your advantage. They think, oh, it's going to be a pass play because Kincaid's on the field, and you run anyway. So they can't. You got to be able to, if you want to do this stuff where everyone's involved, everybody eats, everyone gets opportunities, you have to make it so when someone is in, it doesn't change anything. Because like we already said, 80% of the time under center's a run, 80% of the time in shotgun's a pass. And then when Kincaid's on the field, 90% of the time it's a pass play.
Yeah.
People are going to pick up on all that shit, and it's going to be easy. Oh, not 90% chance that's going to be a pass. Okay, let's run cover 3. Let's take away the middle of the field, and then let's bring an exotic blitz on the other side, and they think it's going to come from this side, and then we're going to confuse the shit out of them. And then you start pressing, which I called it in the group chat after we went down 3-and-out and they scored. And they got up again. I said, okay, now the offense is going to start pressing. Alan's going to start pressing, and it's going to be a shit day. And that's how it was, because you feel like you got to get all back in once.
Yep.
But if you just, give opportunities and not give in to, I got to stick to whatever's working before, it's going to eventually work again. You got to switch it up sometimes.
So let me ask you a question, Sean. You're a baseball fan. World Series just got done a couple of weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a Nationals fan.
Yep.
Let's say that the Nationals give up a home run, okay? A grand slam. Down 4-0 to start the game. Okay? When that happens and you're on offense, you're the batter and everything, what's your focus right then and there?
Just get on base.
Get on base or hit a home run because you're down 4?
Get on base. If it's the first inning and we're down 4-0, yeah, just get on base.
You're thinking get on base. Most people are going to say hit a home run. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's what you're going to start pressing. That's what's going to happen. So when those things happen, that's when turnovers start happening in games. That's when you see guys like James Cook and, not holding onto the ball necessarily the right way and corralling it at the end. That's when you start seeing fumbles happen, and that's when mistakes start happening. I think that if the Buffalo Bills start off faster, they have a more balanced offense, that this is going to be a much better game for them, and you're going to see a difference. And I think that this is going to be a bounce-back game. I really do.
Yeah, to your point, that's right. People would think, oh, I got to get right back in it. But, like, if it was the first inning, you got 9 whole innings left if you're the home team to chip away at it. So if it's 4-2 in the fourth, okay, we got 2 runs back, and you got 2 runs in the fifth, or okay, now we're tied again. So like you don't have to get it all back at once. You got to play smart.
Right.
I think I obviously understand as a player, man, we shouldn't be down right now. We got to get back momentum.
Right.
But then, like you said, what happens when you try that? Then you fumble the ball when you don't fumble all season, and then you throw interception after a 14-play drive that took 8 minutes. And then now you still don't get any points. So, it's relax.
Yeah.
You're a good team. You got players. You got you're a great quarterback. Trust in yourself that you can catch up. Your defense has been great all day. All you got to do is get on the board a little bit, get the ball back, get back on the board again. That could have been a whole different game.
Yeah, you're right. It's 100% what you're saying there, Sean. And when you have moments like that where you give up a touchdown, you go down the field, it kind of wears out on you, and it wears out on the offense. You start, like you said, you start panicking in those situations, and you forget about the little things. It happens so much. It's a mental game. This game is very much mental. And I think that that's one of the reasons why the Buffalo Bills are struggling is because the mentality that they have is, okay, we're down, 8, we're down 16, whatever the case may be. We start panicking in those moments and we forget about the little things that are working. And sometimes when you struggle, and I told this to when I was teaching tennis and everything, I tell people that when you're struggling in those moments, focus on one thing that you're good at. Okay. It can be that, okay, right now I'm going to work on my footwork because I know that my footwork, I'm really good at that. Work on that. Okay. Then you work your way up and you start playing better because you're getting confidence. And I think that the confidence just isn't there. And that's what happens in the moments when we're down and everything. We start to get down on yourself. So you see Josh on the sidelines, upset and everything, and stop smiling and everything. You just got to go out there and, play a little bit more confident, even being down, because, it's like playing poker. You're going to go out there, you're going to lose sometimes. You're going to win sometimes. You're going to have a really good hand and you're going to win, and you might win the whole entire pot. You just got to go out there and you got to showcase it. But Sean, I want to get into some of these comments too that are coming up. And John Robert, I've kind of missed you for a little bit, buddy. I appreciate you coming into the chat saying, I think the Bills will activate TJ Sanders with Fedarian Mathis out. Completely agree with what he's saying there. Sean, I want to ask you this question. Who do you think the Buffalo Bills will elevate this week with some of the players that could be elevated? I'm going to give you a couple of them. Maybe Michael Fox, the new defensive end for the Buffalo Bills that comes over from the Rams. Maybe a little bit too early, but maybe you could get a couple of package plays in the lineup for him on defense. 27 and a half sacks. Gabe Davis could be in the lineup. Even Mecole Hardman in the lineup for the Buffalo Bills. Do you think any of those guys get up?
I would say Davis probably seems ready to go, and I think he said he ran with the ones a little bit and with scout teams. So I mean, if you're running with the ones, they're not gonna waste valuable reps on you, and they even gave Hardman reps with the ones too. So maybe they both will. Maybe they'll sit Samuel and they'll elevate both of them just because Shakir's banged up too. So if you don't elevate them both, and then Shakir ends up having to sit out after a quarter, then you got no Shakir, you got no Kincaid. But Palmer's going to be back, so maybe they'll just bring one of them up. They do got 3 elevations for both of them, so we'll see. But I mean, they'll probably activate TJ Sanders tomorrow, and he'll play. I mean, I can see I'll just say Davis.
I mean, I can see both of them. I really can. The reason why I say that is because you could use Mecole Hardman as a punt returner in this game. And he's had opportunities to be the punt returner for the Buffalo Bills already in practice. So that could be the case right there. Brandon Codrington could be inactive this week for the Buffalo Bills, as well as Curtis Samuel. So that could very well happen. I don't really see anybody else getting elevated this week. I think that we're getting healthier, and I really like what the Buffalo Bills are doing right now to get healthy. John Robert coming into the chat saying Josh Allen has to see wide receivers better because they do separate. Completely agree with what he's saying. I don't just think that it's on one side or the other. I think it's just all in all, just, a lot of things that are happening. This game with Jackson Hawes, it could be a passing play with no Dalton Kincaid. Absolutely. Elijah Moore had a great catch. Absolutely, he did. And he's saying that Josh Allen needs to throw passes to running backs more. Exactly what we said. Bills run the board. Bills fan CA saying that, as well as I think Codrington is going to be inactive. I could agree with that too, Sean. We haven't really gotten into the inactives for the Buffalo Bills in the past couple of weeks. Who's going to be inactive, who's not. I think we should stay out of that right now and just focus on, a couple of little things of how can the Buffalo Bills get a win on Sunday. So let's get into that.
Well, real quick, Brett, isn't it weird that we haven't heard anything about DeMar Hamlin at all?
No, that's kind of weird.
No update at all. Nothing. Nobody's talked about him. Nobody's brought him up. It's just he's been on IR for the majority of the year, if not the whole season, and we haven't heard anything. I don't even think he's been around. I haven't seen pictures of him, so I don't know.
Maybe that was a clone of
Maybe
DeMar
he's getting
Hamlin.
he's getting recloned.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Well, he's all right. I mean, I don't think it was too bad of an injury. I think it was just a pec, right? Like a strained pec.
I don't
Not
even
that I
remember.
want him to come start or anything, but I at least would like update about our
Yeah,
guys.
I don't even remember what the injury was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I thought it was a pec, but maybe
Maybe
he's just not close to being ready yet.
I think he tore his pec. I think that's what.
Well, we also haven't heard really about Bass either. They haven't really talked about him, so
I know it's kind of weird. The past couple of weeks that they haven't talked about him, and it was like what, a 2 to 3 month injury. So
for Bass, maybe, yeah.
yeah, John Robert bringing it up in the chat too, feeling bad about Dorian Strong. I mean, that's just a crazy situation there that's going on.
Well, it's not all over yet.
And
McDermott just said, "Oh, it's not looking good, or it's not trending up." Doesn't mean like maybe it's just for this year. Maybe it's just maybe he's not going to play this year. But I wouldn't rule the kid out yet. I didn't know Bass was kicking.
yeah, I didn't know that either. That's good to know. I mean, maybe a couple weeks from now that we see Tyler Bass back in the lineup and everything. Even though I do like Prater right now, I think that he's doing really good. What we've seen, missed a kick, yeah, made me scream at the TV, yeah. That happens with Buffalo Bills kickers, but
yeah, I know it's not going to happen, but it'd be cool for like the playoffs that you keep Prater for everything except for like 55 plus, and then you let Bass kick him because like I trust we're getting off the rails a little bit. I know you're trying to get into something, but I trust Prater. Even that one against the Chiefs. How far? I couldn't tell in the game. How far was that the one that he missed? Was it like 52?
I don't think it was 52. I think it was like 49 or something like that.
Okay. Well, it was. It just it just died a little bit, but it wasn't like a horrible kick. I mean, he made a long kick for us early in the year, but yeah, I'm glad Bass is doing good. But yeah, what were you saying?
I just wanted to get into some of the keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills. What do you, how, first of all, how do we get the victory? How can we get the victory? And will we get the victory? So let's start with how can we get the victory?
Score more points than them.
I shouldn't have given you that one. That's kind of the dumb question that I ask every time. But
it's true. It's very true. You got to score more points and you got to give up less points. But obviously, people could say we got a run game shut down last week. Cook still averaged 4 yards a carry. So I don't think it was shut down like, oh, they couldn't even get a yard on us. We're kind of forced to go away from the run like the whole fourth quarter, most of the third quarter because we were down for so much. So obviously we got to keep reestablishing the run game. We have the technically the best run game in the league as far as yards and all those other metrics. So I would obviously keep running the football, but switch it up. Don't just be, we're going to run the counter every first down. We're going to, run stretch run plays every time or tosses. Switch it up so they're not keying in on what we're doing. And then obviously get the short, intermediate, and deep ball game going. If you open up the game with a play action like we did against Atlanta and you see Palmer open again, chuck those deep balls. But I wouldn't just go for a deep ball every time if it's not open. You know what I mean? Right. That's what I try to tell people. It's not that I don't want to check down offense, but if the deep plays aren't open at the time, don't throw it. Don't just chuck it in the air. Because, I think the reason why we switched to this type of offense where it's, besides the fact that Cook's really good and we got a great O-line, is because it's more efficient and helps you win football games. Now, we won football games when Allen was throwing a lot of picks and fumbling the ball a lot, but this is protecting him, his body, while at the same time, he still has the freedom to run when he wants to because he's scrambled more now than he did last year. But also keeps the ball with us because if we're throwing 4 interceptions every other game total and he's got 12 or 15 or 18 of them like he did a couple years ago, we're just giving the ball back too much and giving the opportunities to the offense of the other team. Now, I'm not saying run 10-minute drives every time, but be efficient. It's worked. And when the big plays open up, throw them. Don't be afraid. I don't want to hear, we don't have connection. You've had all offseason with every single one of these guys, except for McCall Hardman. You already had Palmer and Moore and all those guys in previously. Davis has been here for years. You shouldn't
Right.
you shouldn't have trust issues. Maybe he doesn't trust himself, because he maybe, he's I threw an interception, throwing it deep, and now I'm nervous, which I don't think he is. But, like you said, it could save you because you want every play to set up your next move. So, like, for example, if it's 3rd and 15 and you're thinking about, okay, if we get to 4th and 4, we're going to go for it on 4th down. But then Allen throws it 50 yards downfield and that's 4th and 15. Like, you just screwed yourself over. So if you already know you're going to go for it, set yourself up for success. That's what the Chiefs always do. That's what a lot of good teams do. Even like the Jets game I was watching yesterday, there was times where it was like 3rd and long, and they didn't go for it past the sticks because they know, okay, maybe we'll go for it if we get close to it, and it just helps you out that way. And again, I don't love dink and dunk all the game or check downs all game, but I want to hit every quadrant of the field. I want to hit every sector of the pass game, short, intermediate, and deep. But it depends on the play calling and what Josh sees when to take it. If you want to throw a deep ball so bad and you see Gabe Davis in triple coverage, don't just throw it because you want to. If it's triple coverage, someone else is open.
Yeah.
So throw the ball to the underneath guy.
Yeah, you're right there. And one of the things I was going to kind of bring up, Sean, is, and we're kind of going everywhere, guys, so please bear with us when we're talking about this. But one of the areas that the Buffalo Bills struggle with on offense is the perimeter. You got to admit, especially with Joshua Palmer being out, we've struggled significantly with the perimeter game of the Buffalo Bills. So when you are stretching the field and trying to go deep down the field, there's going to be times where somebody is getting open in the middle of the field. And I think that that's areas that we can exploit right now against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is finding ways to stretch the field, but also find those little dink and dunks, like you mentioned, Sean, earlier in the game. I think that there's going to be times where you're going to be able to hit those deep plays, but you're also going to be able to find those easy completions for Josh, get his completion percentage up, and move the ball down the field, and get into situations where it's a 3rd and short or a 3rd and manageable situations. Because, like you said, live to fight another day. Those are the ways that you can really help yourself, is to make it manageable and live to fight, and find ways to move this offense down the field. And even if it takes 17 plays, move the ball down the field and you'll be fine.
Exactly. So yeah, that goes, like you mentioned, that goes back to my keys on offense. Run the ball well, be efficient with the ball. Don't put the ball in harm's way, because as we noticed in all of our losses, we turn the ball over more than the other team did, and you're taking the ball away from our offense. So those are important. And I think, because defense has been running more zone against us than ever, these guys got to do a better job of finding space and just sitting down and just being a zone. I think Dawson Knox is great at it. So I think maybe he'll get more opportunities today, and or not today, but Sunday. So receivers be a little bit better at getting in the zone, finding the space, the open space, so then Allen can hit you. And then, defensively, they don't have a starting running back, but they got 2 pretty decent running backs. And we stopped great running backs. Like, I really think we've just been bad against the run like 3 games. The A-Chain game, but again, most of that came at the end when it didn't matter. Obviously, Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry, but we stopped Breece Hall. We limited A-Chan the first time we played. We shut down the Panthers run game, which was an elite run game. Patriots didn't do anything. They got 2 rushing touchdowns, but they could hardly run the ball on us. So there's games where we've done well against the run. Now, Sean Tucker, I've always rooted for Sean Tucker, but I hope he doesn't do well. But he had like 9 for 50-something last week. That's pretty good. Almost 5 yards, or a little bit over 5 yards a carry. Rachaad White's decent. Rachaad White, I think, is a better receiving back than he is, though. But if you can stop the run and you can focus on keeping Igbuka not killing you the whole game, and Otten's good and Tej Johnson can make plays, but I actually trust our secondary. Cole Bishop's been really good, and Harrison's been really good too, and even Trey White has his plays been surprising compared to what it was in the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Sean. I think that we're getting better and mixing into the lineup, between Jordan Hancock. At times, Cam Lewis comes into the lineup, makes a mistake sometimes and misses the tackle. But this mixture on the other side of Cole Bishop, Jordan Poyer coming into the game, I really like what we've done there. And I think that the secondary has been a lot better, like you said. But areas for me that the Buffalo Bills need to figure out in this game is getting the ball back into James Cook's hands and utilizing him more, especially with some chunk plays. Get him the ball, especially even if it's 10 times in the first quarter. I want to see him with the ball in his hands as much as possible, but I also want to see them utilizing him in the passing game, find ways to make him involved because he is a superstar player for the Buffalo Bills. Then for me on defense, I think it's just going to be, obviously making sure that you don't give up the big plays and keeping everything in front of you. That's pretty much it for me.
For sure. And then lastly, I'll say the special teams has to stop being shit as far as field position and giving up field position. And you notice whenever we get a really good return, there's a flag for blocking the back or holding.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't even make sense at this point how so many times it's and only on the really good returns. So that's either telling me we can't get a good return unless we hold, or we're just getting screwed, which is also likely. And then we give up a lot of good field position as well. So that really needs to change because there's times where we get returned to the 40, like last game. I can't remember his name because he's been doing nothing all year. Ray Davis got it to the 40, but there was a block in the back, so it went all the way back to the friggin' 10.
Yeah.
So I got to go 90 effing yards. So, that changes the game. Even the Hairston pick, he picked it off at like the 28, brought it to the 39, but stupid Javon Solomon had a block in the back on Waddle and it brought it back to the 10. So imagine, and that was the play, that was the drive that Allen fumbled on when it was 16-7. So if we got it at the 40, maybe the whole thing would have been entirely different because we would have called way different plays. We would have had more time to get less distance, and who knows, we could have scored a touchdown there, then a 16-14, and then you got all the momentum.
Yeah.
So stop being dumb with these penalties, and also again, not to just talk about refs, but we've been tracking, or at least Trey and I have been tracking in the Discord, where the least when we're on defense, we're called for the least amount of holdings against in the league, but we got like 20 times more holdings on offense. So, I can't remember the last time an offensive lineman that we played against got called for holding on a D-line. So that shit doesn't make any sense. I don't know if we're just not selling it because I see it. I've showed it in multiple clips when we were putting all 22 clips on my film stuff, but it's everywhere and it's not being called. So either we got to sell it better or there's something funky going on. So stop with the bogus penalties on special teams, and let's get some good field position so our offense can do what it does.
Absolutely, Sean. Field position is going to be one of the biggest keys for the Buffalo Bills this week, especially if you have to go, let's say 62 yards, 60 yards. That's so much easier than going 90 yards. You change your whole entire, pretty much, play calling that you're having.
Right.
The refs have been bad this year for sure.
And they're always bad. I just mean it like I'm not trying to say like we're being singled out, but what are the odds that because last time I think I checked, it was our offense has been called receivers, tight ends, linemen, about 20 holding calls, but we've only been called for holding twice on defense. It doesn't make any sense to me. In 9 games, we've only had 2 holding calls against our defense. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not saying that we get called for 10 penalties a game and the other teams get called for 1 penalty a game. I'm just saying as far as the holdings go, against holdings for and holdings against, it's not even close to being in the middle. So I don't know. I don't know why that is, but who knows? Maybe this week we'll get held a lot on defense and we'll be able to celebrate. I can't remember the last time we got called for an offense that got called for holding.
Yeah. I'm going to ask a question to the group, everybody that's on here, including you, Sean, okay? Got to ask this. How much do you think that Vegas interferes with the outcome of games in the NFL? Do you seriously think that there's some type of conspiracy? Because I'll tell you what, most of the people that were betting on the game last week would have taken the Buffalo Bills 8.5 to win the game. Most people are going to take the Jets in that situation with, I think it was 14.5 points that they were favored by against the Jets, even though they did cover the spread at that point. At some point, I think that it was 11.5. So you got to say, are the referees making the wrong calls in those situations? Or is Vegas involved in the outcome of these games and telling the referees and the rest of the NFL, maybe the Buffalo Bills, maybe the whole entire organizations around the league, that we're gonna play this script to a certain T, and it's gonna be a lot like WWE, where you're gonna have a script, you're gonna follow the script, and this is how the outcome of the game is going to happen. What do you think?
I don't think it's like WWE or there's a script or anything, because that wouldn't be possible, because there wouldn't be the whole entire league would conform to that, and like that. For WWE, there's like 1% of the amount of football players there is, so that was a little bit easier. And they're actually actors. Football players aren't actors, so I don't think it's like that. But I mean, owners are billionaires. Referees aren't even really full-time referees, like in like hockey. They're all full-time referees. So yeah, is it possible that they could be swayed one way or another and not talk about it? Yeah, but also I don't think like Josh would be. I mean, it happened in the NBA where the guy would tell his friends to bet the under, and then he would pretend he was hurt, or he'd miss all these shots, or turn the ball over. He got arrested. So the guy that did that's in jail at this point. So is it possible people do that in the NFL? Yeah, but I wouldn't doubt it, especially if owners are all rich. Referees could be told, "Hey, try to make this a different game, not change, not because obviously refs can't make you win or lose a game, but I think they could influence certain things." And also at the same time, like these referees all had to be sports fans before. So who's to say that? Because I know one of my wife and I's friends, she's married to a NFL, not NFL, MLB umpire, and he takes his job extremely serious. But I asked her, I was like, "Oh, what was his favorite team before?" She goes, "Oh, he won't even say, because he completely white. He doesn't even like baseball anymore. He had to completely clear his mind so he could actually call games and make it fair, like as a job." But like these NFL guys, they could be like, "Oh, I grew up a Dolphins fan, or I grew up a Chiefs fan, or I grew up a Broncos fan. F this other team." Who knows?
Yeah.
You're never gonna really know that, because I'm not gonna lie. I don't care how much money it is. You couldn't pay me to not like a team that I like if I'm, being the umpire for it or the referee, whatever. So is it possible? Yeah. But I never liked gambling in the first place. For one, it's especially like a lot of these podcasts we listen to, they're sponsored by gambling stuff. And then they're like, oh, at the end of their pitch that they have to say, they're told to say, oh, if you need help, if you're gambling addiction or whatever, call this number. It's like, but you're feeding into that by promoting it. And then, people lose everything because of gambling. And, you want to gamble, put money in the stock market and you can gamble that. But I mean, a lot of people just watch the sports to gamble now. Like I have a friend who he likes sports, and he's probably my longest friend I'm ever going to have in my entire life, because I met him when I was 6 and we've been best friends ever since. So I doubt I could ever make a friend that I love and cherish more than this guy. But he doesn't really even like sports anymore. He just loves to gamble. Like he's like, oh, my team sucks. I don't care. I'm just going to gamble on everything. But gambling, it's bringing a lot of money in.
Yeah. I just feel like there's some type of conspiracy that's going to come out that the NFL is in some way, maybe not rigged, but swayed into decisions that are made because of the referees and the calls that are being made, more favorable for certain teams to get into the playoffs more favorable for teams to make the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that one side, one specific team. I think in all, that it's happening across the NFL. You look back to the Patriots years ago. Do I think that they got some very light calls? Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that there's some way. And I think it's going to come out eventually. Just like there's been the documentary for NBA. I think that it's going to come out that the NFL has some type of bias that's happening across the league. I'd love to know from Jake. I'd love to know from a lot of other people in the chat. Let us know your comments, even if you're watching after the show. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. But Sean, we're at about the an hour and 6 minutes. I want to say a minute. It looks like a minute on here for me. We're at an hour and 6 minutes now. I'd love to know from the chat as well your score predictions for the game. I know we haven't quite gone into the keys to the game, but give me 3 keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills to win, as well as your score prediction real quick.
Run well, stop the run, and limit mistakes. Simple as that. Obviously, the given of win both sides of the ball trench-wise. But, I mean, if you don't give the ball away, your chances of winning skyrocket. So Don't give the ball away.
I'm going to say 3 things, okay? And forgive me, guys, for the congestion that's going on with my nose and everything. My keys to the game are going to be, number 1, the Buffalo Bills winning the field position battle in this game. That's going to be my first key. Number 2, I think that the Buffalo Bills have to have more of a 50-50 offense. When I say that, I think 50% of the time that they're going to have to run the ball, 50% of the time they're going to have to pass the ball. But I think that if they're able to run the ball well to start the game, that this offense is going to click much better. But it starts with running away from Vita Vea. He is a monster of a human being, and somebody that one of my friends that works for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm not going to name him on the show, but he is an equipment manager for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, told me that a story about Vita Vea a few years ago that happened. He was in the locker room, and they were giving away food for the NFL. And this man decided to get a burrito, and he took the burrito, and it was a large burrito. Well, come to find out, guess whose burrito that was, Sean? Vita Vea. He took Vita Vea's burrito. Vita comes into the locker room and is absolutely livid and asks who took the burrito. And he said, quote unquote, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Vea. Please don't effing kill me." Vita said, "Don't let it happen again." It was his reaction. So don't piss off Vita Vea in this game. Run away from him. And, in these situations, when you get into the second level of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you have Levante David, who's not the same player that he once was. I think that we can beat Levante David in those situations and get the ball back to, down the field and get it into the opponent's territory. That's the ways that we're going to have to do it, is by running the ball very well and playing complementary football on all 3 aspects. You got to play complementary football here. And if we do that, we're going to get a win here. But it's going to be a very tough game. But I like these matchups going up against teams that are better than us. And especially against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we got the Philadelphia Eagles, we got the Cincinnati Bengals coming up. All great games that we're going to have to play against. Even the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to be a fun game to watch. I can't wait for Sunday and these matchups too. So
yeah, for sure. Mike, guess what the weather's like? Based on my phone, it looks like it's going to be raining a lot tomorrow, but like high 30s to mid to high 40s on Sunday with rain at like later in the night. So I think we should be good for everything, but you never know. But at the end of the day, we've seen our guys do it in any weather condition, torrential downpour, snow, you name it, we can do it. And,
absolutely.
Getting your ass kicked by a shitty team, all due respect to the Dolphins that you've owned. You beat them now 14 out of the last 17 games with Josh Allen. I think that if that's not a wake-up call after the other 2 wake-up calls we had of shit football, then I don't know. I want to see a resilient team. If we could go out these next 2 weeks and win, of course, but look good doing it both games, you know, I'll take that. And I'll feel much better, and I'll believe in this team. But it did rain, but it wasn't like it just rained for a little bit and we were already down by a lot. The rain didn't have any. The only thing it affected was Kincaid dropping that one pass that was like a 30-yard bomb that could have got us close to field goal range, but we ended up having to just give up after that. But we've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
30s
John,
and windy, I like it.
I like this. I'm not going to lie. I like it. I think the colder the weather, I think it's better for the Buffalo Bills. So
yep, we could be 8-3 at the end of this week. We could be 6-5, or we could be 7-4. But if you're 8-3, Houston, yeah, they're not the best team, but they got the best defense. You're on the road. You're on a short week. You beat a great Tampa team who's looked at as a contender, even with all the injuries. You beat them. You beat Houston. You're only technically a game and a half back from New England before you play them. You never know what could happen. So,
absolutely,
it's we need this. We need this to feel really good. These next 2 wins, because I'll feel really, really damn good about 8-3.
Absolutely. Stephen Noble comes into the chat. This is a great comment that he brings up here. It's been a very odd year for the Buffalo Bills. We bring our A game against the Kansas City Chiefs, but not week to week. Kind of have to reset. And are the Bills just worried about January like most fans?
It could be. That's a good point. I mean, I'd like to think that they play every game like it's a playoff game, but to your point, they're probably tired of it by now too. Here, it doesn't matter what you guys do in the regular season, just win in the playoffs. So, maybe they take it differently when they're playing a shit team. They think that they can just always dominate and always win no matter what, even if they don't have their A game. And then they get down and they just like, whatever. Which I hope it's not like that, but it's good. Maybe in their subconscious, they're like, yeah, I mean, I don't care what anyone says. When we beat the Ravens in week 1, yeah, our defense gave up 40 points, but their defense was fully healthy, and we put up 41 on them. And then they got injured after that Browns game. They missed 8 starters from there on out, and everyone's like, oh, well, yeah, the Bills beat them, but they had a shitty defense. They just had an injured defense. And then now the defense is back. Lamar's back. Now they're 4-5, and they're going to go on a run. So we beat the Ravens, who are a Super Bowl contender. We beat the Chiefs, who are a Super Bowl contender. Not that the Panthers aren't a Super Bowl contender, but they're contending right now for their division. And, they beat Green Bay after we smoked them. So that's what I also want to bring up. We beat the Panthers 40-9 at home, just absolutely destroyed them. They then went into the very next week with injuries on their offensive line to Green Bay as 16.5-point underdogs and beat them in Green Bay. I don't care what it was, 16-13. They still beat them. So they got their ass whooped, and they went and beat one of the NFC favorite teams. So we beat 3 really good teams and 3 potential playoff teams. And yeah, we lost to the Patriots, but we got them again. We'll see. So, it's not like we can't compete with the best we have so far. And now if we beat Tampa, you beat another playoff team. So I think, yeah, you lost to Atlanta, you lost to Miami. They both suck. They're not going to make the playoffs. So that kind of sucks when 2 of your losses are against teams that you shouldn't lose to. So just think about it. If we beat New England in week 5, nobody's even worried. Nobody's even caring right now. Nobody's talking about the Patriots like they are. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see. I believe in this team, and they need to show us. They need to earn the fans, hope and belief back. Not that we're going to back off our team. We're diehard fans, all of us. But they need to show us this week with these 2 wins that they're what we thought they are, we thought they were, and what they can be. That's all I got to say.
I mean, the former Arizona coach said it best. They are who we thought they were.
Mm-hmm. They got to show us.
Pretty much how it is. We got to show up. We got to show out and play in front of the crowd in Highmark Stadium. And maybe it's just the Buffalo Bills saying, you know what? We want to end things against the Jets. Get the stadium, done and everything, not worry about a farewell tour in front of the crowd in Highmark. We're going to play on the road, have the fans travel and everything, and then we're going to demolish Highmark Stadium, get it ready to go a little bit early.
I don't think they'd want that. I think they'd rather play home playoff games.
Obviously. I'm just kidding when I say that, obviously. But, Sean, you have a score prediction?
No, just gotta win the game.
Bills win, do you think?
Perhaps.
Okay. I'm going to say, it's going to be fun. Let's watch it on Sunday. See how we play. No more score predictions. Let's go week to week. Have a good run, and let's take care of things. Let's just do that.
Yep. Bring your lunch pail.
Bring your lunch pail and go to work. Let's just go to work. All right, Sean, thank you so much for joining me. For everybody that is watching in the chat, we appreciate you guys for commenting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment on all of these videos that we are doing on Nickel City Mafia. We will be back again because we are playing on Thursday Night Football. We will be back early next week. I believe we're going to do Monday. Is that correct, Sean?
If I can, yeah. I got to see. If not, then Mike or Jake could probably join you. I just got to see what my wife's doing.
No worries, man. But we will be back early next week for a Red, White, and Roofless show in a game preview of the Houston Texans game. I will be traveling, actually, to Buffalo. Unfortunately, the Buffalo Bills will be playing on the road on Thursday Night Football, but I will be in Buffalo on Thursday, traveling and driving 22 straight hours to Buffalo. So I can't wait for that. We'll be in town early Thursday morning, but driving through the night, getting to Buffalo so that we can watch that Thursday Night Football up there in Western New York. So for Sean, I am Brett McDurphy. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Go Bills.
Go Bills.